Great day, wonderful students. I'm very glad to be with you again. Is your English language teacher, Mr. Nwabara Good News. I hope you're doing well. From the last time we met, I just want to believe you've been doing great. Remember, the last time we took nouns apart, talking about the grammatical names of functions, markers, things we can use to identify nouns, like subordinating conjunctions, like relative adverbs, like demonstratives, like possessives, and all others. I also believe you remember those classes of verbs listed that could make a sentence a clause instead of a phrase. The primary auxiliary, the modal auxiliary, the lexical verb, among others. Today, we're going to be launching into yet another discussion of grammatical names and function. And that is the part 2 of what we've started. Today, we're going to be looking basically at the adjectivals and adverbials. Adjectivals and adverbials are going to be looking at their functions and how they can be relevant to your study of grammatical names and function. So at the end of today, you're going to recall and appreciate what you've learned about the grammatical names and function, this time with respect to the adjectivals and adverbials. And you're going to be learning new things also in the course of today's class that you're going to be making use of. What are the functions of adjectivals and adjective phrase? The main function of adjectival is to qualify or describe nouns and pronouns in different ways. First, as attributive adjectives. When it's an attributive adjective, it pre-modifies. That is, it comes before the adjective, the noun that it is qualifying or describing. For instance, sugary foods hardly appeal to the people these days. Now, sugary food is an adjectival phrase. Remember, because there is no verb included in this expression, it is a phrase. So, adjectival phrase which pre-modify the noun food. In Lagos State, drinkable water is difficult to come by. Drinkable water is adjectival phrase which pre-modifies the noun water. The community is welcoming their illustrious sons. Illustrious sons here is adjectival phrase, and here illustrious is pre-modifying the noun son. In our earlier study, if you remember, I mentioned that OUS ending words are adjectives like precious, conscious, sumptuous, delicious. Now we have illustrious is an adjective as well. Now look at this. The restaurants serve delicious foods eaten by many. Delicious food is an adjectival phrase which pre-modifies the noun food. Look at this one and say, if you have not been opportune to stay with intractable children, then beating might be your next option. Now, we also see intractable children as adjectival phrase, and we see intractable is an adjective pre-modifying the noun children. Note very well that BLE words like able, sellable, liable, pliable are all adjectives. We can also have them as predicate adjective. This is when an adjective completes the meaning of the verb. In that case, it will be complementing the verb. That is adjective coming after the predicate. Look at those two examples. Those questions are tough and the man looks stupid. Now, you look at tough is coming after the noun question. It is a postmodifier. And stupid is coming after man, which is a postmodifier. In that case, you also see them coming immediately after the verbs that are there. Are is a verb, looks is a verb. Remember, are is a primary auxiliary verb, looks is a lexical verb. And as predicate adjective, they come after the nouns and the adjective in that regard. Please note that as we proceed. We have as postmodifier as well. This is when the adjective appears immediately after the noun or pronoun. It is modifying, qualifying, or describing. Look at the example. The funds available will not be enough for the project. The heir apparent is a very intelligent young man. The boy with the brown cap is my classmate. The man standing at the corner owns that beautiful house. You see, funds available. Available is coming after the noun funds, and a post modifies the noun fund. Apparent is coming after the noun hair. It post modified the noun hair. Now, the boy with the brown cap is an example of how a prepositional phrase can function as adjective phrase. And here, post-modifying the noun boy, standing at the corner there, post-modifying the noun man. Remember, when we talk about prepositional phrase, it begins with a preposition and ends with a noun phrase. In the course of this lesson, we're going to tell you on how some prepositional phrases can do the work of adverbials and adjectivals as well. As a noun, the adjective can be used as the head of a noun phrase, thus performing the function of a noun. Like the rich are usually unmindful of the poor. Here, we see the rich is an adjectival phrase and is a subject of the sentence or subject of the verb are. While the poor is adjectival phrase and complementing of preposition. Remember in the former class, we tell you how noun can be complement of a preposition. This is the case when the adjective is used as a head of a noun. The government should cater for the needy. Yes, the needy here is adjectival phrase and is complement of the preposition for. Other examples are the less privileged, the afflicted, the abandoned, the dejected, the deceived, and so on and so forth. Adjectives can be as a relative adjective or clauses, and this occurs when any of the relative pronouns like who, that, whom, which, whose appear in juxtaposition or side by side to a noun in an underlying part of a sentence and is mostly accompanied with a verb or verbal group. In this case, we say is an adjectival clause. The man who told you that is here. The decision which they took backfired. The girl that I wanted to marry was stingy. This is the woman whose daughter won the race. Always remember the son of whom you are. Look at that. Who told you that here is adjectival clause, and it is describing the noun man, which they took backfired, describing the noun decision. That I wanted to marry, describing the noun girl. This is the woman whose daughter won the prize, describing the noun woman. And always remember the son of whom you are, who you are, is describing the noun son. Note also that adjectives describe or qualify noun or pronouns. So we've come to the end of adjectivals in this case, and we've learned so much about adjectivals. We can see them being attributive. We can see them post-modifying. We can see them serving as head of a noun, and now we see them with relative pronouns. We want to launch straight into adverb and adverbials. Adverb modify verbs primarily. It can modify adjectives and other adverbs. Look at this example. He walks slowly. Here, slowly is an adverb of manner which is modifying the verb walks. She's very beautiful. Here we have very, which is adverb of reason, and it's pre-modifying the adjective beautiful. The dogs look so lovely. We see so, which is adverb of degree, post pre-modifying the another adverb there, lovely, which is adverb of manner. So here we can prove the fact that adverbs can modify adjectives, verb, and another adverb in that regard. It will be very important for us to look at the adverb classes. We have adverb of time, manner, place, degree, reason, condition, concession, negation. When we talk about time, we can talk about now, since, then, manner, stupidly, awkwardly, hard, place, here, London, there, degree, so, very, reason, because, due to, condition, if, had, unless, concession, thereafter, nevertheless, negation, no. Of course, affirmation is yes, certainly, of course. Then frequency, steadily, daily, invariably. We also have adverbs showing directions like eastward, backward. Adverb can also be expressing viewpoint like honestly, frankly, when you're expressing your viewpoint, so to speak. Then some examples. All the while in the covert, the thieves waited for a good time to escape. If not for a stray dog that barked incessantly at them, they would have escaped with their booty. This question appeared in one of the WAEC written some times ago. If not for a stray dog that barked incessantly at them was underlined. You find out that here, what started the sentence is adverb of condition, and we look around it, we can see barked, a verb. It then turned that sentence to adverbial clause of condition. And what is the function? In that case, it is modifying the verb escape. Look at the example again, another example. We waited quietly while the driver sorted things out with the policeman. While the driver sorted things out started with adverb of time. Why? And if you look at that sentence, you see sorted is a verb and it becomes adverbial clause of time, and it is modifying the verb quietly. She was walking slowly as we went ahead of them. Slowly as we went ahead of them, there's a verb there, went, and it is adverbial clause, and it is modifying the verbal group was walking. Remember I told you when there's a cluster of verb in a sentence, you don't need to leave anyone behind. You pick all of them like that. Was walking is adverbial group. Then it had started raining when we got there. When we got there is adverbial clause of time, and it is modifying the verbal group had started raining. It happened because she was negligent of her duty, because it's adverb of reason, and because of a verb there we have adverbial clause of reason, which is modifying the verb happen. Now, prepositional phrases as adverbials and adjectival. The prepositional phrase, like I told you, begins with a preposition and ends with a noun phrase. We have example like in the garden, on time, about her, under the table, all the time, against the wall, behind the cloud, above the law, above the rim, because they begin with preposition and ends with a noun phrase. They are prepositional phrases. So how can they function as adverbials? See example. The thief was caught in the garden. In the garden is a prepositional phrase doing the work of adverbia, and is adverb of place, adverbial phrase of place, and it modifies the verb. Verbal group was caught because there's no verb in it. He dribbled with ease. With ease is adverb of manner, which is modifying the verb dribble. We got there on time. Look at the last example there. You don't know what has been happening behind the scene. Behind the scene is also adverb of place. Behind the scene, place. There's no verb, it becomes adverbial phrase of place, modifying the verbal group has been happening. Has is a normalized verb. Been is a primary auxiliary verb. Happening is a lexical verb. You don't leave anyone behind. You take them together like that. Now, prepositional phrases can also function as adjectivals. The girl on the dark suit is pretty. Look at it. On the dark suit is a prepositional phrase, but in this case is following, complementing the noun in that case. So it becomes adjectival phrase, which is describing the noun girl. You see, adjectives describe, while adverb modifies. That man behind the white Mercedes is my dad. Behind the white Mercedes is qualifying the noun man and is adjectival phrase. The boy with the black beret is my roommate. with the black beret, here we have a prepositional phrase doing the work of adjectival, which is describing or qualifying the noun boy. So we have seen where prepositional phrases can do the work of adverbials and adjectival with numerous examples. So this will bring us to the end of our full discussion on the adjectivals. We have seen positively how adjectives can function in different capacity. We have also seen adverbials, and earlier in our discourse, we saw the nouns. Remember, if any sentence is underlined and a verb had been used in that case, that verb has played its part in making that sentence a noun, a clause, and no longer a phrase. So it's been a very nice time with you, and I hope you've learned so much about the nouns, adjectivals, and adverbials. Nouns, their functions as subjects and objects. We have prepositional phrases functioning also as adjectivals and adverbials. It's been a very full discourse, and I want you to continue to keep safe. I want you to continue to be good children. I want you to remain very safe and secure. I want to thank you all for listening to this lecture. God will continue to bless you. Thank you, and remember the son of whom you are. Like I told you earlier, hard work don't come easy. Remember, the height that great men attain is never by a sudden flight, but it is when their contemporaries will be wasting their time that they will be working so hard, burning their midnight candle at both ends.